This episode of Co-op is brought to you by the Adobe Flash platform, GoDaddy.com, and Squarespace.
Oh man, it's gonna be nice to have a week off. I gotta catch up on all those games that came out while we were at E3, you know? Dude, there's so much stuff to play. I'm glad I got a little bit of a break.
Here we go.
Ooh, what do you got there?
Next week's show. Yeah. I think I got a good lineup. I think we could do. Yeah, your Red Faction.
Oh, nice.
That came in, and then Infamous Prototype.
Ooh, nice.
They're all like open world games.
Infamous?
Yeah, dude, that looks pretty good. I think Prototype looks kind of nice too, though.
Yeah, can I see that one?
So
Yoink.
I think we covered. Really? Dude, that's a lot of games. How come you're gonna play all? All right, fine. Hey, it's his funeral. It's cool. Arrested Development.
The thing I like about you most is you've run away with me. So pack your bags and your shotgun too. We might run into zombies. We're always down for that co-op multiplayer action. We're always down. We're so down. We're so down. We're so down for co-op. We're so down for that co-op action.
Basically, your guy, Alex Mercer, is someone who is woken up mysteriously, doesn't know where he came from, what happened to him, but he's been adopted with these sort of super special powers, and story we've all heard before in video games. The part I like the most about it is the moving around. It was sort of like an Assassin's Creed meets Crackdown.
Yeah, just holding down the one trigger and just running. Once I finally unlocked the glide power, which was only like, what, 2 hours in game or something. Once I unlocked that, it was like, oh, okay, now I can see where this will really come in. Because before it was just kind of running up over in buildings and jumping and stuff.
You can upgrade the jump and your sprint abilities.
That was like
as
the
well.
first things I upgraded all the way. Exactly. Like, I just want to go as fast as I can across this map.
The game does movement really, really well, which I don't think should be that surprising, because from what I understand, like the whole Ultimate Destruction games were like very similar, with the ability to jump and run up buildings, and being able to have such speed and stuff really makes it to where getting around the city, like I guess Infamous goes about it other ways, but this one, just getting around the city is actually like probably the best part of that game.
Yeah, I think they definitely delivered on that stuff. It was just the rest of the game that was kind of lacking, I think.
Prototype actually is one of those games that if it had come out like 2 years ago, I think it would have looked just fine.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like it really pales in comparison to
I totally agree.
a lot of the other games.
The crowds, especially the crowds, like it just seems like you're seeing the same people over and over and over again. Especially the army guys and the Blackwatch and stuff. It's like I've seen that same commander, the base commander that you have to get it anytime you want to get in the base. It's like I've seen that guy 24 times at least, and he looks exactly the same.
You remember the part on the compound where there literally is like 300 of the exact same commandos all walking around it?
often you'll see people walking in a crowd and it actually looks like they're like part of like a synchronized like walking team because they're literally doing the same motions and like pivoting on the spot.
See a group of like 6 of them stuck in a corner, just all kind of rotating around each other, not really doing anything.
I mean, I guess you're not really supposed to pay attention to that when you're like in the middle of like a big crazy battle or something like that, but
Or running 600 miles an hour.
Exactly, but I guess it's pretty inevitable though when you start doing like those missions where you're very closely like examining or sneaking around. I mean, you notice these little things really easily.
I found out there's literally only 3 missions that you can complete completely stealthily. That's why there's an achievement for get 3. There's an achievement for get 1 and for get 3. Like I really would have liked more stealth stuff. I like games that allow you to be like, okay, I'm not gonna just go in and kill everybody. I'm gonna try to sneak my way in and, you know, get this commander and sneak past this or whatever. But they just didn't. They didn't really capitalize on that at all.
A lot of the powers, like, at least with me, it was like, yes, you have all these different weapons you can use, but I never like entered combat thinking, now I'm going to switch to this one. I pretty much just found one and I stuck to it the whole time.
Whip fist.
I was gonna
all about the whip fist. I never used like, the heavy one.
I like the whip fist for a while, only for fighting the super soldiers because they couldn't get to you if you used it. But other than that, I just used the blade the whole time.
Like I appreciated that there was that much stuff to upgrade, but at the same time, it was just it was 1 or 2 things. That's all I really needed to go to for the combat, because the combat is like, it feels almost like convoluted. You know, I'm this really agile, super powerful guy, and they frame these situations where, yes, I could control a tank, I could control a helicopter, I can tackle these situations kind of like many different ways, but there's a lot of them don't work really well.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm getting by at the skin of my teeth. I'm just kind of like plowing my way through and just hitting guys when I want. They're doing that slowdown all the time whenever you're dodging, and it feels more like a frame rate issue. I can't counter, I can't block. I feel more like just a blunt object.
You know, I'd enter combat stuff, and then if for some reason I failed it or whatever, I would just grab one of the APCs or the tanks. Just be like, okay, I'm just gonna blast the shit out of these guys because you know I know that I can do that and stay far enough away. If I keep backing up while the hunters are charging, I can just blast them.
Yeah, I had a pretty easy time doing that early on. Like I thought the early missions were really easy, but then that game, instead of like throwing a new type of enemy that has like some new trick that you have to really learn and actually be good at the game, it's just like, we'll just throw 400 of one thing at you, and it just becomes kind of like a kick in the balls.
You guys do a lot of the side missions, the extra stuff? The ones I actually really enjoyed were the gliding ones or the waypoint ones. Basically all the ones where there's movement involved. Anything where they were like, go from one end of the city to the other, where that's all I had to do. I always had fun playing it. Like whenever I had trouble with the mission, I would just quit to the free roam and then do a couple side missions or just run around, and I'd still get 45 minutes of fun out of it.
I didn't at all, because I found like just through the story I had enough evolution points to get by, and not only that, but I had a really hard time doing the ones that are like destroy bases or hot hives in particular. Like
those are easy if you have the APC or the tank.
I guess
blast them and like takes like 2 minutes.
I guess I just couldn't do it. But like the ones where it's like kill X amount of zombies within a set amount of time, those ones are fun. Or consuming targets, because some of those videos are actually kind of cool to see, and some of them make no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. The videos were cool. The presentation of those things was actually really neat. I like that a lot.
Parker, Karen, wait here, please.
No need to. I forgot something. I need to grab it before they lock us out.
Wait here.
It has like this really serious storyline that's like trying to be really weird and cool, like an X-Files episode or something. But the rest of the game is so silly feeling in a way that it kind of detracts from like any seriousness the storyline would have. And not only that, but I mean, ever since Assassin's Creed, we've just had characters that aren't very likable a lot of times as main characters, and this guy's like the biggest douche of them all.
He was particularly, he was always like, you know, it'd be like, I was like, at least give me some like, you know, woman that he loves, that he wants to find or something, but it was just like, this guy's just kind of a dick.
So there's no like morality system like in Infamous or Red Faction at all. It's just there's no point in saving people in this city. It's just, you're getting revenge. That's pretty much the only gist of it.
I thought the game was a lot of fun, but man, it was a little long, especially because like you'll fight, there'll be a boss fight like midway through the game that you'll think is the end of the game, and it's like an hour-long boss fight. I swear to God.
Yep.
And then once it's over, the game still has like another 6 hours to go.
It's a definite great rental, and I don't know if you want to spend $60 on it or whatever, but getting it for a couple days and just cranking through it and having fun, it's probably a good thing.
Yep, definitely.
Adobe has announced further advancements to the Adobe Flash platform with the beta availability of Adobe Flash Builder 4, Adobe Flash Catalyst, and the open source Flex 4 framework. Adobe Flash Builder is a professional development tool designed to help software developers rapidly build rich internet applications. Flex 4 framework provides a common foundation for both developers and designers to create compelling user experiences. Revision 3 was at Adobe Flash Camp and interviewed some of the engineers and product managers who worked on the updated platform. For more information, go to this URL.
Did you guys both play good?
I did.
I played good.
Did you
See,
play evil?
yeah, I play evil every time in every
Nice.
game. Anyway, it's always the more fun.
Like most of the time when you play evil, it's like a real decision, but in this game it's just like, are you just gonna be a prick? It's just so much more selfish in this game than it is in other games. Like the decisions don't even, like you're not even getting like some huge benefit from it. Like the first one that you make of taking the food for yourself or giving the food to the people, like just taking the food, it's not like you get a bigger health bar or something like that,
Right,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It just comes down to you just being a dick for fun.
I guess the difference is that with the good choice, all your power upgrades are sort of accurate ways to channel your power, whereas if you're evil, it's just all the power upgrades are just do the most destruction. You know, it's not really meant to single out your enemies. It's just meant to create a lot of devastation in one area. You know, so I guess that's where the balance of good and evil
It's
lies.
true, I kind of wish I'd played evil though, because when I played good, I got the ability to like save wounded people, and then I found myself just doing it constantly. Like I just felt some innate guilt that made me want to save them, and I'm like, dude, it just would be so much easier if I was just like,
Wow,
fuck all
yeah.
these people.
Opposite, I was running around like soaking up all their souls and just saying like, God, I will end your suffering.
I think this is just one of those instances where they decided they were going to go for a good evil dichotomy, but there's really only one game to play, and the good evil dichotomy is basically just gives you some slightly different powers to play with.
Right.
And I was fine with the good powers at the end. I mean, like if you upgrade your bombs big enough, and then you get like that big single blast bolt that's like a missile that you can then guide.
Right,
you know,
that's
like,
cool.
That thing was really cool because I would fire like 3 or 4 of them in the air, and then if you shoot your normal lightning bolt at somebody, then they all go for that same guy. And then if you upgrade those big missiles, when they explode, they have a big blast radius, and everything around them goes flying in the air, and they're all suspended in the air for a little while, so you can like shoot them while they're still in the air. It makes for really fun sequences, especially in the large battles that they give you at the end of the game, where they're just like throwing tons of guys at you. At the beginning, I really thought like, okay, I have to be all precise. I'm going for all these headshots, and you know, because I was playing good, so I didn't want to like just destroy everything in front of me. But at the end of the game, they have these big scenarios and these big battle scenarios where you could just unleash, and it felt really good. I mean, the combat in this game turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was at the beginning.
I liked that there was different powers, but it kind of bothered me that it wasn't more like the Jedi Academy games where you could pick, like even if you went and you played as like a Jedi and not a Sith, you could still have dark side powers, and it was just like you had to make choices, like you know, you had to put some points into dark side or whatever. In this game I didn't like that you had to go one way or the other. It wasn't like I could get like at least like the dark side lightning bolt but still have like the good side
Right.
others. I don't know, I just,
Well, there were some powers that were for both, right? Like the floating power and the shield.
Yeah, so some of them were definitely
none of the ones that you could upgrade.
The one power that quickly became my favorite was the rail slide.
Yeah.
So any section of the city that you restore electricity to, you can rail slide on, and then you can upgrade it so when you're rail sliding on it, you're recharging. And so it's like I found myself using the power lines and the subway lines like all the time to get around the city. You move really fast.
And it just has a really cool feel to it when you're grinding on the rails and then you sort of hit a ramp on the rail and you know you're floating in the air to transition to the next one. It almost makes me feel a little bit like Jet Set Radio.
If you're not sliding around, jumping up the buildings can be a little bit tedious. And it was tedious, I mean, like, I understand why they did it. So when you're jumping up a building and there's something there for him to grab onto, he'll kind of like be sucked towards it, you know, and like up to the edge of the buildings. And so there's or if you're coming down from on high and you're trying to land on a power wire, he'll kind of like glide himself like right toward it automatically. It's sticky. It's very sticky. And sometimes I really appreciated that, and other times I was like, God, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
You know, especially if there's like a blast shard, which is the collectible right below you, and I'm trying to go down to get it, and he won't go down to it because he keeps sticking on the thing in front of him.
I almost feel like some of the blast shard locations were just to show you, like, haha, you know, you're gonna have to fight against the assist, you know, to get this one. Figure it out.
Yeah. I just felt like sometimes the engine and the animations and everything, they're all a little janky, they're all a little unfinished, they lack a little bit of polish. And I think I've probably been spoiled by Assassin's Creed. But at the same time, it's like, it's not like I ever was jumping around the city and doing everything and thinking like, oh, these animations are awful, because I was just having so much fun playing the game.
Yeah, maybe the animations aren't as good as Assassin's Creed, but man, the game at least isn't very repetitive at all. Like,
exactly, yeah.
It has a lot of varied missions and stuff, and it's actually the only game I've ever played ever where I actually purposely went for the collectibles, because again, they had a tangible effect on your character, and that constant sensory thing you're doing
you can
that shows you where they are. It
Yep.
kind of just makes you want to go for them, because there isn't the real hunting for them.
Right, and I thought their little map was ingenious, the way that it showed up the blue dots for the blast shards, and the way that it showed the outer rim to show you where the dead drops are.
Right, and the closer you got to it, the shorter the
arc
range
would
it
get.
was.
Yeah, and I thought the dead drops were also a nice little way to extend the story and give you the background on that one character.
I intentionally went for them every time because I actually thought that it was interesting.
Yeah.
Audio recording of Kessler follows. Experiment 52C. A full-grown male chimpanzee is connected to the ray sphere via 6 electrodes.
And not only the collectibles, but the side missions as well are you know, there's a lot of variation to them, and there's a lot of reason to do them, and they're fun, and you know, you're leveling up your character the whole time. I mean, by the time I was to the second island, I mean, my character was very strong. I had the highest like physical resilience to, you know, to attacks, and a lot of my powers just maxed up, and you know, it's one of those games where I felt compelled to like clear out the whole city of all the enemies.
The story was kind of lame. I thought the voice acting was good, even though the lines were kind of bad.
Definitely.
I still found myself having a lot of fun in the city, even though I did feel at times like I was kind of fighting the controls. Like, the entire time I was playing, I was thinking to myself, man, Infamous 2 is going to kick major ass.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, Infamous is definitely like in the top 3 of my favorite PlayStation titles. Maybe like right behind things like Ratchet and
really?
Uncharted. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm excited, and of course they teased at the end. He wonders if anyone is going to be able to help him, you know, later, and it's like, you know, are they sort of teasing, you know, they're going to bring in another hero or another character? I don't know. I mean, I would love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it does well enough that Sucker Punch gets to make another one. I mean,
me
Sucker
too.
Punch has habitually made games that have always reviewed really well and sold terribly. So
let's hope this isn't the last in that case.
I mean, you know, I have a feeling with just the way the game looks, I mean, people are going to pick up on it. You know, I mean, I can see why they might have had trouble selling Sly Cooper, but...
And they did a good job with the whole electricity metaphor throughout the game. I never felt like it was like electricity that acted like bullets, but it was electricity. You know, I always felt like he really was using and absorbing electricity.
He's on a timer. Fail to disarm any of them before they detonate, and she dies.
Cool!
You bastard. I've engaged the timer on the first bomb. You don't have much time.
If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Plus, enter code CO6 when you check out and save an additional 20% off of a 1, 2, or 3-year hosting plan. Some restrictions apply. See site for details and get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com.
Red Faction is fucking fun.
Man,
Yeah.
That game is so good.
It's fucking surprise.
Yeah.
It's my first big surprise of the year.
Mercenaries 2 and Boom Blocks, I thought, were like, it was a nice melding of two completely different types of games.
Screenshots, and I think even video doesn't really do the game justice. I think they sacrificed a little bit of visual fidelity in the service to gameplay, and it was absolutely the right decision to make. What other game can you walk up to and hack a building apart with your sledgehammer?
That was awesome. And in fact, the first time where you hit something in just the right place,
Yeah.
and 5 minutes later it falls over, that's really awesome. It's like, it's not always immediate.
Play this way. We'll drop PDF right in.
There's a lot of driver to it.
Oh, I haven't played Driver, so how do you
So
mean?
the original Driver, there were some missions in that where when the cops came after you, like really aggressively, it was like the days before AI was very sophisticated, and it was just like they would just aim right for you and ram you.
Right.
No thought for, you know, trying to pass off some sophisticated AI or anything. It's just like, I am gonna fuck you over, and that's all we're gonna do. And it's just like, I remember there were times where I had to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And they're ramming into everything so hard that they're ramming into each other, and you're completely fine because you're standing in the middle of it all.
I mean, if these people made their buildings like they make their cars, you would never
No
get
problem,
anywhere.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it's prefab. It's like a Michael Bay movie. Your car goes through everything and
Yeah.
it never shows a scratch.
So, I mean, I didn't mind that the story was a bit flimsy.
No, neither
It
did
didn't
I.
bother me at all because it seems to revel in its video game-ness
Yeah.
so much. Like, it's not saying this is like a drama set on Mars or like a narrative set. This is a video game set on Mars.
Right. Yeah.
And it pretty much sets that up from the start, and then it's like, okay, we're done. Like, you know,
I mean,
go shoot stuff.
The story isn't bad because everything that you're doing throughout the course of the game plays into what your point is. Like every bit of damage you do, every building you take down is like, that's another like fucking dick in the eye of the EDF, like bringing them down, which is one of the things that help pull me through the game. Is that in a lot of other open world games you're driving from point A to point B, and there's a lot of time spent between objectives, whereas in this you have an objective, but along the way you can stop, blow up a couple of gas tankers,
right,
or whatever, or like bring down a guard post, and that is contributing to your goal for that level.
Most open world games that I play when I'm driving to and from those missions, not only is it like you said, there's not a whole lot to do in between there, but there's only a few mission types or a few missions in the game where they're truly memorable to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, like I'm a completist by nature when it comes to games, but in this game that was a joy, because I felt like every single mission type that was there, I wanted to do them. And one of my favorites was they were almost puzzle like the demolition tests.
Yes. Oh, like the stacking the barrels to knock the building over,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I love that.
And I really feel like they put those in the game to show you that you could be as creative as you wanted to be with whatever the tools that you had at your disposal at the time were.
Mhm.
So it was one of my favorites was the one where you're putting your remote bombs on barrels, and then you're throwing barrels down these long tubes that go to the bottom of a building that's like sliding down there, and like you're stacking up barrels at the bottom of this building, and then you hit your remote detonator to explode them all at once. And I'm like, until I got there, I didn't even think really about putting my remote detonator bombs on an object that I can then throw and then use that object as a weapon.
Bigger bombs.
Make bigger bombs.
Be
Yeah.
like a
And then
Donkey
you start
Kong
thinking,
terrorist.
well, what if I put it on like a vehicle as it's driving past,
Yeah.
or what if I put it on a vehicle that I'm on a vehicle, get in, drive it, then jump out, then dead. I mean, like you start getting these like really creative things.
It doesn't feel like there's anything gratuitous as far as game design goes in the game. Everything is there for the purpose of blowing shit up in the most awesome way possible.
And the way the weapons evolve feeds into that as well. I mean, like the early weapons are cool, but I think that the things like the rocket launcher, they're very satisfying.
Definitely.
Slow, sort of old school rocket launchers where, you know, you really have to kind of line it up right.
My favorite weapon was the thermobaric rocket. You could stand far back. Oh, there's a building I need to destroy. Fire one rocket. Boom, half the building is gone.
I like the nano rifle.
The nano rifle is amazing.
Yes, the thing
that was a lot of fun.
Things and people, and that's one of the situations where you're rewarded for cleverness. Like with the flyers, taking the wing off and then it going a little further and then tumbling out of the air like a bird.
Right. Yeah.
The way that the economy works in the game is actually one of the more clever aspects of the game world, which is that you destroy things which give you pieces of those things that you turn into stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to you find money in the wreckage of this building.
Right.
Yeah. So little touches like that help establish the reality of the game, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. They made a lot of game when they put this out. It's almost like they didn't really know what they'd built, so they seriously over-delivered, because the single-player game is really good,
right? And
then the Wrecking Crew mode, which is the sort of pass the controller around multiplayer, is really good. And then multiplayer, they over-delivered on that. It's got tons of modes, loads. There's weapons that are only in multiplayer that aren't in single player.
The backpacks
all the
are
backpacks, like,
so good.
Run right through buildings and
There's a backpack that literally creates an earthquake around you, and there's a mode called Siege where your point is to either defend or destroy the other team's structures. And so one team will have guns that rebuild things, like a reverse Ghostbusters rifle.
Right.
And the other team has these backpacks where you will run on a bridge and activate it, and it will literally shake it apart.
That's awesome.
There's multiplayer modes that feel like tribes, because there's the rocket pack, which brings the sort of vertical element into it, and there's a lot of sort of chasing each other, like when you do it through a town, and suddenly everyone just like lifts up into the air, and then you're fighting on top of a building, which someone takes out from underneath you. You know,
so many great moments.
They obviously just had a field day with their design. It's like, all right, we're going to build everything around the physics system. What can we do?
It's like they had a whiteboard in the office that said ways to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And every day someone would add something and say, we can put that in.
It seemed like the safe houses were very few and very far between, which maybe fit into the lore or whatever, but it kind of made it frustrating to drive around. And I actually, the one type of mission type that while it was still fun, was definitely my least favorite, were when you find a car that has a transmitter in it and you have to drive it back, the transport emissions, and you have to drive it back to a safe house, because sometimes it would inexplicably have you drive all the way across the fucking map. Sledgehammer is, next to the gravity gun, my new favorite weapon in an action shooter game.
There's nothing that can't be solved with a big hammer.
Yeah, clearly. Well, and it also might have a little bit to do with the fact that I played the game on casual. Being able to steamroll through everything was much more satisfying.
And I love that it sort of encourages that as well.
Yeah.
It's like, if you notice that you're dying too much, just go. It's not like Gears of War where it's like, well, if you're a pussy, you can play it in casual mode. But in this, it's like, if you're not having fun, just put it on casual.
Right.
It's like it seems very at one with what it is.
Yeah.
And like the team seem very comfortable with what they built.
Yep.
And it's like, just go have fun, blow stuff up.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game when this gen came around and they were talking about emergent gameplay experiences and everything that they'd learned from open world games in the last generation. This is the kind of game that I feel like I've been waiting for almost this entire console generation. I mean, we've seen lots of pretty looking games, but there's still games with weird collision and like debris that doesn't move and all of this, but Red Faction feels like this is a world that exists, and while the rules can be video gamey and the gravity is a little weird, it follows its rules. Things happen the way that you expect them to.
And even if they don't happen the way that you expect them to or the way that you intended, it's still fucking awesome. So it's hard to argue.
They might as well put that on the box. Fucking awesome.
What if life was like Squarespace?
Squarespace is a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. Squarespace offers a uniquely flexible tool for just about anyone, no coding experience required, to build high-end, complex websites with the same functionality and uniqueness that you find on some of the highest trafficked pages on the web. Good taste not included. Sign up today and use promo code COOP.
Check. Oh.
You're in check, buddy.
Dude, come on.
Well. Huh. Ooh. Dude, so where is Matt been? I've not seen him like in the last couple days.
Sure. Now my turn to watch him.